Hey guys, what's up? Once again welcome to movie Buzz Ltd. The film begins in the year 2032, we are shown a girl named Evey. She used to work on the television network. One day, she was going somewhere at night, and there was a curfew everywhere. Suddenly, two men come in front of her and start misbehaving with her. These men were actually from the government party. Evey now shouts a lot there and was calling for help. Meanwhile, a mask-wearing man comes and had a hat on his head. This mask has a story that we will know about it later. This man tells his name V, and V kills those two men here. Evey was very scared of this, but V was talking to Evey very lovingly and asks her, "Will you come with me to watch my show?" After thinking a lot, Evey says agrees to go with him. Later, they both come to the roof of a building. Evey thought he was a magician by looking at him. She asks him, "Where are your magic things?" On which he says, "I am going to show you something new today." Later, a building explodes in front of them and firecrackers start from there after a while. V was very happy to see all this, but Evey gets scared of all this and goes from there. Now, this news had spread everywhere, and everyone was worried. The government orders to find out about this explosion as soon as possible. Now, in order to stop making people worried, then the government gives the news that the building was very old, that's why we blew it up with an explosion. When this news was being given on TV, then V comes to the news office, who had tied a bomb with him. He stops this news, and comes live on TV himself and tells everyone that the explosion was my hand in it. He tells this to the whole world, and along with this, he also tells that the government wants to rule over people after showing its fear to the world. And on the 5th of November, we will all be together outside the parliament. Now, after finishing this news, V was going from here. Meanwhile, a police officer comes there who points a gun at him and stops him. Then Evey also comes from behind and sprays on that police officer. That was chili spray, but the officer hits her with a gun and makes her unconscious. Evey did this here because once V also helped her. Now, Evey was unconscious there. All this was recorded. So, V picks her up and takes her home, because everything is recorded. Now, the police start looking for Evey too. They believe that she was also involved with V. When Evey comes to her senses in the house, she was at V's house. Meanwhile, she asks him where she is, to which he tells, "This is my house." Later, she starts going from here. He says, "Stop, if you go, the police will catch you. Because the police also suspect you now that you are involved with me." Later, V goes to a house, where he first kills the commander and then the father. We will come to know why he killed these two. After he kills them and puts a rose near them. On the other side, the officer finds out about all this, but he does not get anything. Many days pass like this. Evey was still staying at V's house. He never did anything wrong to her. He cooks for her and makes breakfast. And he was keeping her very well, but he was wearing a mask at home as well. Whatever he was doing for the country without fear, Evey liked this work. She also had to live freely like him, but as V was killing the famous people here, she did not like it at all. She runs away from V's house. Now, Evey runs away and comes to her boss's house, but she was scared. Her boss says there is nothing to be afraid of. Then he shows her a famous painting that he had stolen, and also the Quran. Although he was a Christian, but still, there was a Quran in his house. That could have been very dangerous for him. On the other hand, the officer now comes to a lady doctor and shows her the same rose that V used to kill and leave with him. The doctor is scared to see that rose. It seemed that maybe she know about this rose. Now, when she was at her house at night and was about to sleep. Later, V comes to her house. She looks at him and says, "I understood by looking at that rose, you are behind everything." Now we will come to know why the doctor tells him this today. V gives another rose to the doctor, which means that he was also going to kill the doctor. The doctor apologizes to him for whatever happened to V. Later, V gives him an injection and kills him, and leaves from there. Later, the officer also comes, but by then the doctor was dead. The officer also sees the doctor's diary there and brings it home with him. Now, when he reads this diary, the story goes from here to 2015. There he finds out that the government had made a national camp. That was actually a center. There those people were kept who were against the government. People were tortured there a lot and strange experiments were done on them, and all these experiments were so dangerous that 75% of the people died. The rest of the people who survive are kept in rooms 1, 2 to 5 similarly. But these people also die, only the man in room number 5 survives. He blows up the whole center and runs away from there, and this man was the one who has become V. And the experiments that were being done on these people, these all were supervised by the father, commander, and doctor. That's why V killed all of them. Now, we see that the police catch the boss of Evey, because he had shown the TV against the chancellor. Evey was also running from there, but the police also catches her. Now, when the police ask her about V, she doesn't say anything. Because of this, she has been given a lot of pain, and her hair has been cut, after which she is locked in jail. Later, he finds something written on the paper, in which it was written about a girl, who used to do wrong things. Because of this, the government imprisoned her in the same place where V was. Many experiments were tested on that girl. Because of this, she died, but she never gave up. Now, after reading all this, she also gets courage. The fear inside her was completely over. Later, a man comes there, says Evey, "You are free. There is no fear in you." Saying this, the man leaves. Now, Evey is released from here and goes to V's house, where she finds out that for all the pain she was given, everything was done on the instructions of V. She screams at him, and says, "Why did you do this to me?" He says, "I wanted to see you become strong. I was also very sad, but now you have become very brave and strong." She asks him about her boss, and he says, "I didn't kill him, but the police killed him." Because the Quran was found from his house, now she gives him the written paper. Because of this, he finds out that the paper was real. She herself wrote that, and when Evey starts going from here, he says, "I want to meet you once before 5th November. She says yes and leaves. Now the next day the officer gets a mail. A man calls him to meet, and this man was no one else but V, but here he tells his other name. There too we could not see his face clearly, the officer could not recognize V, but here he tells about his past. He tells him how the government has made the center, where an experiment was conducted on people and a virus was created. 3 places were chosen to spread this virus. The first school, the second station, and the third one was a plant. After this virus, many people were killed in a week, but the surprising thing was that those who spread this virus also had the antivirus. They became famous because of this. Some innocent people were arrested and punished. Those who were the real culprits, by then they had got their post. Saying this, he leaves from there. The next day, the officer gets a call. He finds out that the man he met at night, the name he had told, the man of that name had died 20 years ago. Now, the officer does not understand anything, and the 5th November was also close. There, the Evey delivers everyone the similar masks as he has. And he instigates people against this government. People get angry when a man of the government kills a little girl, who was wearing the mask of the V, and now everyone kills that man too. Now the evening of 5th November, Evey comes to meet the V. This was the last battle of the V against the government. He was going to blow up the parliament building. He shows Evey a train full of explosives. He tells Evey, "After I leave, everything is yours." She says, "Leave all this, we will go somewhere far from here," but he says, "No, let me go." Saying this, he leaves while passing from the underground way. Now everyone comes out on the streets wearing a mask like V. When the government finds out, they also call the army outside the parliament. Now, V had also surrendered himself to the police. And a man from the police brings the chancellor as per his condition. V kills him and puts roses in his pocket. Now, a policeman tells the V, "I want to see your face." When he doesn't do it, many of his men shoot at the V. But he kills all those men. Now he was also very injured. When Evey sees the V, she says, "I will take you to the hospital." On which he says, "No, I am going to die. And yes, before going, I want to tell you that I fell in love with you. I got all that from you that I never got from myself." And saying this, the V dies. Evey also picks up his dead body and puts it in the train of flowers. And there she starts the train. Meanwhile, the officer comes there. He says, "Why are you doing all this?" She says V was absolutely right. People here don't need a government who is the enemy of people. Even the officer doesn't stop her now, and starts the train. There, people also reach the parliament. The army was waiting for the chancellor's order, but he was dead. After a while, the train that Evey had driven, reaches the parliament. There is a big explosion, and then the firecracker starts. Meaning a new morning for the people here. The officer asks Evey who was the man with the mask. "I don't know. But he was one of us. And now I will tell you about the mask. 500 years ago, there was a man and his name was Guy Fawkes. He made a plan to destroy the government building along with some people. But for some reason, that man was not successful in his plan. And he was caught. He was punished. After that, people started celebrating a festival. People made a statue of that man and used to wear a mask. And in his memory, V used to wear a mask. He wanted to be brave like him, and with this, the story of this movie ends here.